How's it going, everyone? I'm Mike Mullins, the designer of Pentaquark, which is an 18-card solo game from Button Shy, just in case you can't read my handwriting. What I want to do is teach you how to play today and maybe run through a few strategies to sort of make this abstract particle physics thing make a little bit more sense. Okay? So, we're talking about quarks, in particular, 5 flavors of quarks. Now, flavors might sound delicious, but they're just types. Okay, we have up, down, bottom, charm, and strange. There is a 6th type top. If you guys are good to us with the stretch goals, maybe we'll get a top quark in here. Not only do we have flavors, but we have their opposites or anti-quarks. That's just the opposite of those things. So it would be an anti-up, anti-down, anti-bottom, etc. Those are all on the reverse sides of the quark cards. We also have 3 colors, which if you are observant, you've already figured out are red, green, and blue. On the reverse side of these, you'll see the anti-colors, okay, anti-red, anti-green, anti-blue. If I put them in the middle of the frame, it's easier to see. Colors are important for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, because I say they are, and I'm making this video, but also because you need to confine these quarks. Now, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet because you don't even know what we're trying to do, but I want to talk about confinement so for the rest of the video, you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes up. Okay? Confinement is when the sum of all the charges, or colors I should say, is 0. So one example is if you have the red, green, and blue, they all sort of cancel out, and that is a 0 color set of quarks, so it would be confined. Same is true for 3 antiquarks. Or you can cancel colors by having a pair of quark and antiquark of the same color. So there's a green anti-green, and there's a red anti-red. Basically, as the game progresses, a few things can happen. Each round, you're going to be able to keep things that you've confined, and you're also going to be confining things to protect them from bad things that might happen. Another key term here is the opposite of confinement. If something is not confined, that means it is free. Okay? Free quarks, again, we're going to lose from round to round, and they are also sometimes the victim of these annihilation cards. So at all times, you're trying to protect quarks by confining them. If they're not protected, they are free. Let's go on to how to set this thing up, fields of play, and everything else that goes with this game. Alright, so let's talk about what we're going to do here. When you first start the game, you're going to shuffle everything up, put everything together, and it will make you a beam deck. If it's your first time, you're going to split them in half and shuffle, so that you make sure you have a good mix of the quarks and anti-quarks. The goal of the game is you're trying to collect a pentaquark, which will be an up quark, another up quark, a down, a charm, and an anti-charm. Let's write that here. Up, up, down, charm, anti-charm. The other thing that's important, we mentioned confinement before, you have to be able to confine this quark in order to keep it together. So looking at what we have here, we have 3 quarks confined by color, and then a pair of quarks also confined by color. Okay? Now the other thing you'll notice is that the charm, there has to be one charm here and one anti-charm here because it can't be its own pair. You can't have a charm-anti-charm pair because it's on the reverse side of this. Okay? So there you go. The other thing you might notice, just as your first little strategy tip, is that this will require 3 blue cards, even though one of it is on its anti-side. You have to be very careful as you go through the game to make sure you track the molecules. In this case, quarks, I guess. I can't say molecules. Let's be right here, Mike. It's a particle physics game, not a molecule physics game. So the regions here, we need to collect this pentaquark down here in what we'll call the detector. We're going to simulate a big particle collider. We're going to smash things together and try to get our quarks down there at the bottom of the detector. Each round we're going to bring some things out. We're going to call this region the beam. Okay, so when a round starts, 1, 2, 3. Now, it's not always easy to catch these quarks and observe them, so the first thing you have to do each round is to scatter one of the quarks. Let's see, I'm not going to need anti-strange, so I'll scatter that one. Okay? I can bring one down here to the detector. I don't really need either of those two, but I have to complete every step. I see here that this is an anti-color. Maybe I can just confine these for later. So I'll move the green down, and I have to put my final card over here in the discard. Alright, so once again, during the beam phase, I have to scatter. I can detect one, and I have to discard one. The last region on the board, there will be a place up here for annihilated particles. Over the course of the game, there are ways that these particles can get annihilated, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Basically, those are removed from the game, so we need to make our pentaquark here at the detector before too many things get annihilated. Does that make sense? I can't hear you, so I'm going to assume you're nodding. Let's go to the next round. Okay, so here's my anti. Ooh, that's even better. All right, so we had mentioned that we might put this anti down here in order to confine it, but even better, we found ourselves an anti-charm. So now we're going to do this. Now these two are confined. What that means is between the rounds, we get to keep this thing at the detector. So we are 20% there. We found an anti-charm. Okay? It would be lovely if we could keep this charm as well. Since we can't, we'll scatter this and we'll put this in the discard pile. Reason being is that this will be safe. We'll see it again next round. The ones in the scattered pile are in danger of being annihilated. Okay? We'll proceed through the round and you'll see what I mean at the end. Okay, we have 2 antis and a green bottom. None of those I need. Okay, this anti down we would need eventually. And I notice that if I have this, I can color confine. Anti-red, anti-blue, anti-green. So I'll do that just to save myself some cards next round. May as well, let's stick a bottom down here and an anti-bottom over there. Oh, wait a minute. I noticed that red is coming up in my queue here. So let's put our anti-red here. So this will be here next round. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Oh, all sorts of stuff that I would like. So because ups are hard to come by, we're going to need 2 in our collection here. Let's go ahead and put the red up there. It's color confined. We want to make sure these stay safe. So if I make this now confined, it puts these in danger, but it saves the ones that we need. This is the type of logic you have to go through every time. Keeping things confined, making sure that you have them from round to round. Okay, our last 3 cards come out. We have an anti-down, an up, and a down. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to lose something because we can't really use these even though we would like to. Let's see. If I look down here, this is a strange which I don't need. So I'm eventually going to move this up down here. So let's do that as the sleeve comes apart. The down we would otherwise lose, but if I put it up here to color confine it, then it's safe again. And I'll discard this. Now here's the end of the round. Here's what you have to do. Everything that's scattered, basically we missed out on. But if it's confined, we can keep it in the discard pile. So I confine these 2, which is good because it's an up and a down. I've confined these 2 so I can save it. Again, good because there's a down I might need. However, this is not confined at all. It gets annihilated. I will never see that guy again. I mean, unless I look over there. I'll never use that one again. Now the bottom is similar, except if I don't confine something, all I have to do is discard it. So the detector is a good place to be. It means I know that quark's there somewhere, but I just hadn't had the ability to retain it. But I have myself an up and an anti-charm, and an up and sort of a useless anti-bottom. But I have up, up, anti-charm, so I am 60% there. Between rounds, I'm going to take the top, or take one Annihilate card, put it on top, flip the entire deck, and shuffle. So here we are, back to the grill again for the next round. We're going to start out, looks like we start off pretty well, because there's a down we might need. Alright, so let's go through the logic here. We don't need this green strange, and then Annihilate is coming up. So basically we're going to put this thing on the sacrificial altar. we do want this down, so I'll move it down to the detector here. And this anti-up, if I move it to the discard pile, it'll come back as an up. Maybe we can use it later. All right. Annihilate comes out. There's my anti-blue, anti-strange, and a green charm. Okay. Annihilate means I must... So through the magic of video editing, you can see that I've given myself a nice clear space here to talk to you about annihilating cards. Obviously, we know that the Annihilate card itself is the primary reason things get destroyed. Okay? When an Annihilate comes out in a beam, such as this, you can annihilate cards that are up here that are scattered, cards that are down here that were at the detector. Okay? You may also choose to discard something that's here in the beam if that's what you want to do. Let's say hypothetically you chose this anti-charm because, I don't know, you're a daredevil. You'd only have one card left here, and again the steps were scatter, detector, and discard. All that you could do would be to scatter this thing. So in this case, you end up costing yourself a couple of steps because you annihilated that thing first. Alright, the other thing that can happen, down here I have an anti-strange. If this strange were to be here in the same position as this anti-strange, those immediately get annihilated as well. Okay? If, however, they were color confined, this strange is down here with an anti-strange, but this one happens to be color confined, annihilation doesn't occur. Again, the importance of color confinement comes up with this annihilation, this constant threat of game-ending quark destruction. Okay, annihilate means I must take a card that is not confined. In this case, it would be the blue down or this green strange. I don't need this green strange, so I'm going to discard the annihilate and put the green strange in the annihilate pile. Okay? As the game goes on, you're going to add an annihilate each round. It's more and more dangerous. One of the ways the game can end is if you realize you've made it so you cannot collect the Pentaquark. Basically, if 2 ups or 2 downs ever end up in the annihilate pile, you are in trouble because you can no longer make this thing. To finish this round, I need to scatter 1, detect 1, and discard 1, but I obviously don't have enough left to do that. Let's scatter the strange and bring the charm down. Let's evaluate and see if we may have won here, which we probably did because I set this deck up. So we have an up, a charm, and another up. If I rearrange this thing, I now have a down and an anti-charm. Up, up, down, charm, anti-charm. Red, green, blue is confined. Blue and anti-blue is confined. This would be a win, which is not often this easy, but when you stack the deck for a video, it's pretty easy. Alrighty, so last but not least, I promise you guys a few little strategy tips. Okay, the first thing is to consider the different areas of play. Alright, so if I have my beam deck and I were to scatter something, that is always in danger. Hey, there's an R on danger. If I don't confine that thing, it could be completely annihilated. I will never see it again. The discard pile is safe, and I will also be flipping that thing when it comes back. Alright, so that's a great place for an anti-down. When it comes back, it'll be a down that I might need. Finally, the detector is obviously safe. And I want to make sure I confine stuff in order to keep it. From round to round, I can discard anything I want. If I want to discard a strange that is normally confining something, I could do that. Obviously, the risk is you might pop up with an annihilate in the first row, and you could annihilate something that you might need. So always consider confinement. That is the major strategy tip is always confine, confine, confine. The last thing is don't forget, you can see this card in the window. You might even remember that earlier I almost made a mistake in that I looked in the window and saw that I could use the up. So I chose something different the previous round in order to confine that up. Alright, always look in the window. You know what's coming at you down the beam. Finally, keep track of colors. If you're discarding too many colors, for example, a whole lot of blues, even if they're strange in bottoms, you might have a hard time keeping things safe. Okay? If I discard a ton of strange, quarks, bottom quarks, etc. that are all blue, I still won't be able to grab onto a blue up that I need and protect it. Alright? That should do it. That's Pentaquark. I am Mike Mullins. I am narcissistic enough to put my name on the end of this video. I hope you have fun.